Welcome back to Granja Camito in the Pedroche Valley of Andalusia, Spain. It was time to bring the horses back to this area, which is adjacent to the wannabe food forest. This area has been reserved to let the grass grow so that the horses can enjoy it. This is the very beginning of our special pig feeding area for the maternity ward that we are going to build in our Zone B. This area will be leveled and flattened, and there will be a concrete slab and some more installations so that we can feed the pigs with some special food that we are going to create ourselves. While the guys are preparing this area, I'm gonna go up to see the cows. On my way to the cows, I'm passing by the sheep and I can show you the newest lamb up close. This is the corner of CT1 where the pigs still are. We've had some trouble finding a slaughterhouse that will take them, and so they are still here. The area should have the rocks picked and been seeded by now, but the neighbor with the tractor, who promised during summer that he will do the job and we should not worry, has never shown up, but done other things instead. There are a few plants coming up on their own though. And after some trouble with our backhoe, we shall begin to work on the rocks and water retention features ourselves now. We had a bad starter motor, and a day later one of the big tires exploded. It's all fixed by now. Adjacent is our paddock C4, which was in very bad shape. It is improving. The birds have been spreading the manure, and between the straw green is coming up. Not long ago, this used to be almost bare soil. Of course, some of the plants coming up are from the cereal seed that comes with the straw, and it certainly is an annual. But every single root counts, and does something good, even for just a short period of time. So this here is an area where we offloaded bales of straw, square bales, and the cows have been here and the pigs have been doing their thing. And the idea is now that probably next week we got some broad bean seeds. We will then use this material to cover those broad bean seeds, and we will use this on the berm there at the big swale so that we get some green there. There is no green yet, not because of the pigs, but because the seed bank is completely depleted. So we restart the cycle by adding some broad beans and then more things as we build up the soil on the berm. There is some dirt, but of course there's no topsoil, and that is what we want. I am halfway there, and I'm excited to see the new calves myself. There's the first one. Let's stand here for a while and observe. the animals will soon leave this area, and in the forecast there's also some rain. They will go to the adjacent paddock that is being prepared right now. Up there is the other one. Let me loop around and get a closer look. And here we are, 5516 and her female calf. The other one is a bull calf. When 5516 lost her own calf the last time after a week, she had then been searching for it for another week and then dedicated herself to helping the other cows with their calves. Yes, we are predators and will decide at some point what happens to each of these animals. And we will kill and eat them. That's our nature, and we seem to be in need of their flesh for our own nutrition. But there are many ways that can be done, and I'm opting for treating them well and learn their habits in order to make more sensible decisions, instead of being led by a simplistic metric like productivity, which to me is not helpful when managing a complex ecosystem that every farm actually is. I say that despite the fact that I'm also seeing these animals as a tool for improving the soil by grazing. The point is, the better I understand the animals, the better I can work with them and create a system that suits them for an increased contribution to my own long-term goals. We have just started to work in this area for real. In the last video I showed you that we were seeding. Now we wait for the rain and rising temperatures, and when spring is here, something will grow that wasn't here before. Based on our supply of vetiver, we will use that plant to further improve the structure of the ground, and then we can either cut the vetiver for mulch and or bring in the cattle again to turn the leaves into manure. Going forward, there will be a lot of vetiver all over the place for many different purposes. And with each slip we plant, we can have a lot more slips to plant. Vetiver does thrive at 35 degrees centigrade. With a little bit of water, it just explodes. In this area, where you see a lot of straw, we distributed, before laying down the straw, a lot of seeds of a seed mix for the Mediterranean climate to rejuvenate pastures. It contains a lot of grasses and also some clover and a few other things. And I hope that when the rain comes next week, then the germination process will start. We keep the cows here for the moment so that they can take away a little bit of the straw to make it less dense, and they also will trample it and therefore put the seed in good contact with the soil, and when next week the rain comes, then I hope this will make for good germination. And when spring comes around, this area should have a different character. And of course, when those plants go to seed themselves, based on our management, then their seed will distribute in this area and make this better and improve it. At least that is the plan. This area here is at the top, and it is where the runoff starts. So to the left the terrain goes down, and you can see that it gets poorer and poorer, and that is where 2 years ago these ditches were dug to just stop the runoff. And now we have the cows here heavily manuring, so that we give the soil some nutrients in order to establish plants. And if I pan over to the other side, you can see that it becomes flatter and flatter. And over there we are then at the altiplano, the flat area of the land. And there you can see, if I zoom in a bit, that there is some green, but that is not that much, because again we are lacking some rain. Everybody is complaining, and it's also very cold, so that combination does not help the grass that we have to grow. But at least there is something, but it needs nutrients to grow, and we are trying to add those by letting the cows help us. So this area gets more and more of that, and also some additional biomass. But then what is also interesting here, the oak trees have started to change their leaves, so there's also that kind of litter on the ground. But then somebody was mentioning bacteria. Yes, they might also be lacking, definitely, I think, because if there's no activity, the soil is compacted, and during summer everything dries completely out and turns to dust. How bacteria can then do something? They are tough, of course. We know that bacteria can survive, even in space, as I read. But we might have to do the idea of a compost tea, and maybe just kicking a bucket over around those trees. But at the moment, sorry to say that, there's so much else to do that we have on our list, and that includes construction. You will see that soon. So that's probably not something for right now, but it's on the list of all the good things to come. And keep in mind that when spring comes around, we will then have chickens, and they of course add also something. And even the cows add bacteria, because every time they poop and leave that, there's bacteria being added out of their rumen. And as far as I know, you can make a compost tea by putting in cow manure in there, so it's already there. It just has to rain. So nothing against the compost tea, I like this idea, but I have a feeling that we're doing some of it already by accident. But as we move ahead and have more and more fencing set up and all these paddocks, and the animal movement is a one-person job, there will be a lot more free time for other things, and those other things will then be plant-based, because in all those paddocks there should be growing something besides grass, and on all those berms of swales I want to have some sort of mini gardens with shrubs and vegetables, so that there's also an additional product. And our focus will eventually shift towards that. I am now on my way back to the compound. It is shortly before sunset, but still I'd like to show you a few impressions on the way down. This area is where the cows have been, I guess, a week or a week and a half ago. So you see how the area gets left.
So over there, the pigs are sleeping. It is after sunset. It's the twilight. And they have laid down for the night. One just got up, but will probably also lay down shortly. Huge pile of pigs. Looks like this one cannot find sleep. There's another one. Might also be that some of them stay awake and stand guard, same way as the cows do. I'm some 150-200 meters away, so that doesn't bother them.
On my arrival, I am greeted by the dogs, and unlike the pigs, they are not sleepy at all. They are in a playful mood. Let's have a look. So it is already dark, and I am here in our little workshop storage area, and what you see here is the amount of seed that we received today. And here is the invoice, so you can see, and I hope it will be worth it. So this is a mix of broad beans and a seed mix of green manure and grasses and all that to rejuvenate pastures. Let's see how that will turn out. Thank you for coming along. I hope you find it informative and a bit entertaining as well. We still have a very long way to go, but I believe there are a lot of positive signs. Of course, the areas are very different in their state of recovery and development, and for obvious reasons, I cannot show every corner of 45 hectares in every video. Naturally, I focus more on those where something is going on at the moment. Some paddocks in Zone A are becoming ready for grazing in a few days. We will go there and assess whether we can bring in the cattle or not yet. As mentioned before, we've not had rain in a while, and it was also pretty cold. There is no rush to graze the better parts, and we make the decision case by case after a visual inspection.